Hello, Will from whatcar. Now today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than our normal reviews and new car reveals. We're going to be finding out how far 10 of the latest electric cars can really go on a full charge. Now, in the same way that petrol or diesel cars struggle to get close to their official fuel economy in real-world driving, electric cars struggle to match their official range. But how far will these EVs be able to go, and how efficiently will they use the electricity that's stored in their battery packs? Stay with us for the answer, but before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you switch on notifications. And if you want to buy any of these cars, or any new car at all actually, head over to the deals section of our website by clicking the link up there at the top, or just Google whatcar deals to find out how much you could save. Now, we do this test twice a year, once in the winter because cold weather isn't good for battery performance, and once in the summer. And as you can probably tell from what I'm wearing, it's pretty hot today. It is mid-July, it's 28 degrees already. It's supposed to be getting up to 32 degrees later on. We'll be monitoring that, of course. And in theory, that should be good for battery performance. But the automatic climate control systems in all of these cars is going to be set to 21 degrees. So although on one hand, the warm temperature is good for battery performance, the air conditioning systems are going to have to work overtime to keep the interiors nice and cool, and that uses up battery power. For obvious reasons, it wouldn't have been safe to deliberately run the cars out of charge on a public road, so we used our test track in Bedfordshire. We followed a relatively simple route of around 15 miles, which included 2.6 miles of simulated stop-start urban driving, 4 miles at a steady 50 miles an hour, and 8 miles at a constant 70. The rationale for the high percentage of high-speed cruising is that drivers who want to travel long distances in one hit are likely to be using the motorway network. The cars were fully charged and then left out in the open overnight for roughly 14 hours in 21 to 30 degrees C ambient conditions. The following morning, all 10 were plugged in again to check they were still at 100% charge before the climate control was set to 21 degrees and the headlights switched to auto. Normal, or the closest equivalent driving mode, was selected, no eco modes were allowed, and the cars were left in their default regenerative braking setting. If an automatic or adaptive mode was available, as was the case on the BMWs, this was activated. The cars were then driven repeatedly around our test route in convoy, with driver changes and a switch in running order at the end of every lap. It was a relatively hot but cloudy day, and the air temperature ranged from 24 to 29 degrees C during testing, so not quite as hot as the weather forecast had suggested. Unsurprisingly, the car with the smallest battery, the Cupra Born, ground to a halt first. It still managed a respectable 219 miles though, 12% short of its official range. Next to drop out at 226 miles was the much pricier Volvo XC40 Recharge. It fell a more disappointing 13.7% short of the figure published in brochures and advertising material. It was also the least efficient car in the whole lineup, averaging just under 3.4 miles for every kilowatt hour of electricity stored in its battery. And the XC40's range and efficiency is made to look even less impressive when you consider that the similar sized but vastly cheaper MG ZS EV managed 246 miles at an efficiency of 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Indeed, the ZS was only fractionally shy of the 253 miles achieved by the BMW iX3 and new Kia Niro EV. The latter is much smaller and lighter, so unsurprisingly proved the more efficient of those two cars, averaging 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour compared with the BMW's 3.4 miles. Our top 5 kept going for at least another 25 miles before the Kia EV6, our 2022 car of the year, finally gave up the ghost. A real-world range of 278 miles is a highly respectable figure and will be more than enough for most potential buyers, although the EV6's range in our test was a sizable 15.2% adrift of what it's officially supposed to do. Slightly better efficiency kept the new Volkswagen ID.5 going for another 3 miles, while the Tesla Model 3 ground to a halt after 293 miles. This result does need some explaining though. The car supplied to us by Tesla was an early 2021 model with a 70 kWh battery, whereas if you buy one now, you'll get a larger 75 kWh battery that was introduced early this year. The latest version was actually part of our winter range test back in February, and even in temperatures ranging from 3 to 7 degrees C, it managed 281 miles, based on the outstanding 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency that the older Model 3 managed this time around. A range of around 320 miles would have been likely had we been testing the latest model. But as it was, next to die was the Model Y, a car with an official range 44 miles behind that of the latest Model 3. It finally ground to a halt after 304 miles and came the closest to matching its official range. It fell just 8.1% short. It was also one of only 2 cars, both Teslas, that returned more than 4 miles for every kilowatt hour of electricity. It might not have been the case had we been testing the latest Model 3, but that should take nothing away from our winner on the day, the BMW i4 eDrive 40. It kept going for an impressive 360 miles, and its efficiency of 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour wasn't half bad either, although that is still way behind the Model 3. Now, of course, there are other electric cars on sale in the UK that weren't included in this test. The Mercedes EQS, for example, is quite a bit more expensive than this, but officially at least it can manage even more miles on a charge, and we'll be testing that at some point in the future. But of the cars here, and certainly if you've got less than about £60,000 to spend, the Model 3 is your best bet if you want to go as far as possible using the least amount of electricity while doing so. Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you give it a like, leave us a comment below if you've got any questions, and other than that, we'll see you next time.